it's been a while since you've been a celebrity interview before, but it's probably been a couple few years, huh?
Yeah, it's been a little bit. COVID obviously threw a wrench in everybody's plans, but got to get back out there. And I'm happy to have gotten the invite and hopefully share some knowledge with all you guys. Listening to your problem statements was definitely a walk down memory lane. I also worked for ASI and loved me some V-Buzz, so it was good to hear some names again.
Yeah. So Chester, tell us a little bit. So I don't have your current bio information, but can you tell us a little bit? Current title, position, job, or moving between. What are you doing right at this point?
Sure. So at the moment, I'm actually self-employed. Took the dive and went into consulting. The company I was with that I met Eric through Zodiac Aerospace. Unfortunately, aerospace got hit pretty hard by COVID, and so they closed our factory in Santa Maria down. But before that, I had worked there for about 8 years, straight out of Cal Poly. So I got to stay on the Central Coast, still be an industrial engineer, which was fantastic. But then they asked me, did I want to stay on board and move to a different site or take my severance? I decided, hey, I'll take the severance. Went on a little sabbatical, traveled the national parks this past year in 21. And then when I got back, a couple old colleagues said we could really use your help. Do you want to come do some consulting for us? So at this exact moment, I'm in an Airbnb in Santa Barbara, and I go into the office and help them out with all of their lean and problem solving these days.
Yeah. So you made the jump from like an industry internal lean consultant to now you're kind of trying to build a business in lean consulting. So what's that like? I think there's some students in this class that they're probably not ready for that at this point, but it'll definitely be something that they might be looking at in their future, right?
Sure. Yeah. It was I learned a whole new skill set, and that was one of the big things that I wanted to do was keep learning new things. And so the last company, I had been there for 8 years, and one of the things I really loved about it is that they gave us a lot of independence, a lot of freedom to tackle new projects. So I would help out the accounting department, I would help out production on the floor, I would help out quality, and that kept it really interesting. But man, learning the whole business side, right, about what it means to start a sole proprietorship versus an LLC, how those things play out when it comes to tax time, which is this time of year. And then some of the things that I'd never really considered when you're trying to run a consulting service is even if you have the skills down pat, how do you market yourself? How do you get the words out? How do you generate new sales? And so that's been kind of the fun I've been learning over the past half year or so. And I got plenty to learn. I'm definitely soaking it all in as much as I can.
Yeah. So on that whole thing about sort of building a consulting business in lean, something I avoided by getting my PhD. So I get to talk to people about lean whenever I want as a professor. But are you finding that you need some other way to get in the door? Because I think a lot of my consulting friends in lean says, well, I don't go in talking about lean. I go in talking about solving problems or something like that. What are you finding in your experience?
Sure. So I've only had two contracts in this past about 4 to 5 months, and the first one was fully focused on MRP ERP. How to optimize the settings for amount of inventory, how fast things move, how it works with the suppliers they have. And this current one I had, they were pretty specifically targeting lean. Come in, teach us problem solving. We have a system internally. See if you can shore it up or if it needs to be rebuilt from the ground, and then go from there. So my experience is definitely limited as far as what the clientele want or ask for. But so far, it's been the management I've talked to seem to know about it. If you're dealing with any kind of sizable, and by sizable, I'd say more than 100 people, odds are somebody in the company, whether it's the person in quality, whether it's an ops manager on the floor, whether it's the CEO themselves, will have heard about lean or continuous improvement or Toyota, and so they'll kind of at least have a ballpark, if not a really thorough knowledge. I was fortunate enough at this current client where, 3 or 4 of the top managers, despite saying, "Hey, can you come in and teach us problem solving?" When I started to quiz them about it and ask them about their experience, it turns out, they were all very knowledgeable, and it was more a resource, a manpower kind of thing. So they said, "Yeah, we want you to come in to just be a dedicated person to coach, teach our staff, mentor them through 8D. I don't know if you guys have learned or heard about 8D. It's just
Yeah,
another problem solving tool.
Yeah, so Chester, I was going to say, so this class, we're teaching the DMAIC process, right? And the DMAIC process is a problem-solving tool. I just did a workshop on last Friday, with folks, teach them the A3 problem-solving process. And, 8D is sort of another one that's out there. Can you sort of, compare and contrast a little bit, or are you comfortable with that?
Sure. Yeah. Let me even pull up the slides I actually made for the class. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
So, literally one of the slides I had was talking about, comparing, contrasting different types of problem solving methods. And so this particular company, they use 8D.
Hey, Chester, could I suggest, do you know how to make it, there you go.
Let's do, let me try.
Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt your.
No worries.
Because this, we can see this.
Hey, the customer is the student, right? We got to make sure it's clear for them. Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit clear, but you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, and this is something that I just pulled off of the internet, but it shows how the different types of problem-solving methods kind of line up. So whether you're talking about PDCA, whether you're talking about DMAIC, A3, 8D, they're all really systematic problem-solving tools. And to me, the big important thing is that you're going about it in a systemic way, that you're planning on being iterative, because I don't know if all of you guys are 4.0 A students. I was not. And trust me, the business world is not easier. So you'll have plenty of setbacks, plenty of times where you say, "Hey, we're trying to reduce defects," or "We're trying to, lower the time it takes to do this operation." And you have all these great ideas, everybody agrees on them, you get out there, and then bam, after the project, you realize you've really made no impact. So don't be dissuaded by that. It's an iterative process. If you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah.
But here you can kind of see how the different methods line up against one another, at least per this image I pulled off the internet.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, thanks for sharing that, Chester. So we don't have to teach that part now. Everybody's got it. So, but yeah. So could you, like, in your experience, you've had good successes, maybe some failures, and in any case, you've probably learned from them. Can you share a success story or a spectacular failure story so our students will have an idea what goes on there?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go with failures because failures are more fun to talk about, and again, I feel like, especially, I don't know how you guys are with your social media, but we can often malign, like, everybody's social media is just highlight reels, right? And it can feel that same way when you look at your friends' resumes or career paths or whatever. It's always highlight reels, so it's good to, again, realize, like, no, people encounter just as many problems in their work life as they do anywhere else. And so one of the big lessons I remember learning was we had a great CEO at Zodiac, and unfortunately, we didn't hit the number of units produced per month for one of our customers, Finnair, and so he had to resign. He had to take the fall for the company. So pretty big. Everybody at the company loved the CEO. He did a great job. We all kind of felt like we let him down because we weren't able to hit the numbers. And to be fair, the numbers we had to hit were astronomical. It was doubling, tripling output over anything we'd ever done per month before. But I sent him an email when I found out he resigned and left, and just said, we all loved you. You did a great job. And he told me something that really stuck with me. You know, obviously I'm telling you guys this 6, 7 years later. Was he said, you know, Chester, you're super bright, but sometimes when you're talking in a meeting, you just come off like a know-it-all. And even if you're right, right? Even if your answer, your data all adds up, and if people just did it your way, you know, they would get the results they wanted. Sometimes you kind of have to massage it, right? You have to let the people come to those conclusions in their own time to get the results. And it stuck with me. And being an engineer, you know, I don't know how many of you guys are engineers, but it's all about facts, data. If I can prove it, then obviously I'm the right one. But you know, when you're in a business, even if it's a very data-driven business, even if you're making a million cans of soup, you know, at the end of the day, it's people who run the business. And so you have to be very conscious about that is, you know, how do you build a team? How do you work together? How do you make sure that everybody's bought into the mission? Um, and mission doesn't have to be, you know, hitting our yearly targets. Mission could be like, hey, are we all going to turn in that thing that we said we'd have done on Friday? You know, we need to get this purchase rec in so that we can get more printer toner. I don't know. You know, it could be the smallest thing, but today I was trying to get boards printed, and all it took was I helped this one woman with some Excel formulas. You know, she didn't know what they were, and just like that, right? She was able to say, "Oh yeah, no problem. I can get this through the purchase process for you because I helped her." You know, whereas before I just kind of had this expectation of, "Oh, this is your job, so you should do it." So you know, even though I learned that lesson from that CS 6, 7 years ago, I still get retaught it on a daily, weekly basis.
Yeah, that's great, Chester. And, you know, just as luck would have it, after this, we're gonna be talking about the Shingo model, and we're sort of walking through that model. And one of their one of the principles is the humble leadership sort of deal, and leaders being able to say that they don't know or they don't have all the answers is a you know much better approach, right, for making an organization successful.
Definitely.
So I've got some more questions that I could ask, but I think it'd be nice if the students would ask some questions. So if you got a question for Chester, I'm going to ask you to either raise your hand or type in the chat. And we don't want we're not going to read your questions. We're going to ask you to pop on so we get some other voices involved in this, right? The people doing the work of learning need to do the work of asking the questions also. So, but let me see, you got my cheat sheet here. So what's your current lean challenge, Chester? It sounds like you're oh, let's switch over to Keith. Keaton's got a question. Keaton, you want to pop on and ask it?
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, Chester, I think it's kind of cool the experience that you've had, like working in industry and then maybe starting your own consulting business. So now at this point in your life, what gives you the most motivation to do your job?
Whew, great
It's a big question. Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It could just be internal.
What gives
like,
me the
oh,
most motivation? You know, I remember a high school teacher who, hindsight's 2020, and when I look back, you know, she, I think, really set me down the path of being environmentally conscious. And so a lot of the things I do in my free time today, you know, is appreciation of nature. Like I said, the first half of 2021, I was out traveling the national parks and seeing the forests and, you know, really appreciating all the beauty that nature has. And so when I come back into industry, I think lean dovetails really well in with that, trying to say, you know, how can we do the most with the least, right? How can we get the biggest bang for our buck so that we don't impact our world as much as possible? You know, how do we shift processes or systems so that there's less waste? Because even if waste is, you know, calculated down onto a bottom line of some company's finance sheet, it's also, you know, lost time, lost effort, lost resources that off the balance sheet are impacting the environment in some way. You know, whether that's us just spending more time to do something, or whether it's, you know, literal scrap material that's now just going into a dumpster.
Yeah, Chester, you know, I like that. And I think that's sort of a leading edge, you know, for lean is, you know, what can lean do to maybe save the world and make the environment a better place. I think there's a real opportunity. And even if it's, like you said, there's some direct things you can do, but even if it's just, you create more capacity in the organization, right? So you now, you're doing more with less, or you've created more capacity to do other things. And, why not start a committee on, how could we, interface better with the environment, or, put engineers on some of those, problems that maybe weren't on the top of your list, but now, you've got the resources freed up to be able to do those things. Sure.
Yeah. One example I remember I had was nobody at our company had asked about it, but again, because I'm the little green thumb, I had gotten in contact with a company that did LED retrofitting. And, you go through and you think, oh, light bulbs aren't that expensive. But when you're replacing all the light bulbs in, a 150,000 square foot factory floor, it adds up to couple $100,000. So it's a pretty big ask, to go to management and say, can we do this? But this guy I was working with, we did the math, we looked at the current energy prices, and economically, the payback period was like 18 months, right? So as soon as you show management, like, hey, if we put in $100,000 right now, you'll be saving $50,000 a year, every year for the next 10, 20 years. We just have to make that investment right now. So, by no means am I anti-economics. In fact, I think we just have to figure out better ways to use it, to make that value proposition so that we can make things better.
Right. Good. So any other questions? Any questions in the chat or anything at this point? Well, we gotta get Chester one or two more questions.
I was gonna ask him if he had any dirt on Matt Weber, since I work with him.
Dirt about Matt Weber. Matt Weber was my first boss. He's the guy who actually hired me.
Yeah, he's my current colleague. We work together every day. So.
Oh yeah, please.
I told him you were talking to him when you mentioned Zodiac, and he said, "Tell him I said hi."
Yeah. And please do the same. Yeah, no, Matt was a great boss. He definitely set me down the direction of lean. Maybe because I was a little, I think maybe I was a problem child. He didn't know exactly what to do with me because I didn't like, just sitting and doing time studies all day. But I'm glad he allowed me to go take some lean classes and then shift over to that role.
Well, he did mention something about a mohawk, but I'll just leave that.
I did have a mohawk. Yeah, it might even be my Zoom picture. I had that for maybe about 8 years, but alas, it was another victim of the pandemic.
All right, awesome. Any other questions, or we want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and we can go ahead and wrap it up at this point. But I just want to point out to the students, we got great resources. People like Chester got this great experience at Lean and kind of tell you how this works out there in the real world. So this is your opportunity as students to find out, how does this stuff really work, and be sure to take advantage of this. But Chester, I'm gonna thank you, and I'm gonna ask you one, parting question, which we ask all our Lean celebrities. So the question is, we got 70 or 80 students. How many we got?
65-ish.
65-ish, plus the folks in here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're north of 70, but these are the next generation of Lean leaders. They're going out there to fill the kinds of jobs that you filled and try to solve some of the problems that you're seeing. But what piece of advice do you have for them? The sort of parting words of wisdom as they go forward.
Oh man.
What do you wish you had heard?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
No, I was just going to say, another way to phrase that is, what do you wish you had heard sort of coming out of school or kind of getting into this Lean field?
Well, maybe two things. One thing is I think you guys are already on the right foot by, taking a class thinking about this. I started as an aerospace engineering major, and I switched to industrial because I wanted to be in something a little bit broader. And problem solving is, a skill set that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, people will always love you. If you're coming to their doorstep and saying, hey, throw the next curveball at me, I'll tackle it. I want to try to solve it. So I think I didn't learn about lean or really hear about it. Maybe it was, a footnote in some class, but I didn't learn too much about it at Poly. It was really in industry that, somebody asked, we have this coming up. Are you interested in it? So I think just the fact that you guys are here, you're already taking the right step. But then even more broader, if you're not interested in lean, which nobody raise your hand, right? You're in Eric's Greenbelt class, but say you come off of this class and, you're just like, yeah, that's not really for me. Whatever you are interested in, show that interest, be vocal about it. And so again, when the opportunity came and, the first lean manager we had at our factory asked for volunteers, I emailed them that night and said, hey, I'm interested, let's shift me departments and I'll start working on that. And that's all it took. And then I was in it. And that led to, a great career path for me. But whatever your interest is, don't be quiet about it. I think Cal Poly does a good job of kind of setting you up for that by the learn by doing philosophy. Here you guys are actually practicing DMAIC. You're not just theoretically reading slides about it. So keep that mentality up, right? The more that you go out there and do, the more that you fall on your face and make mistakes, don't worry about it. What matters is that you get up and keep trying at whatever it is that you do like. So I think that's kind of the advice I give. It's proven very valuable to me. It's helped me quite a bit. Ask, show interest in things you're interested in, and do your best to tackle them. And if you keep at it, eventually the opportunities will come your way.
All right, Chester, great advice. Thank you so much for doing this, and I expect to see you back on the Zoom screen or in person, sometime soon. So.
Yeah, I hope to see you on Zoom some more. In person is going to be a little bit more difficult. I'll be up in the Bay Area in a month or so. But yeah, anytime that I'm down, it'd be great to stop in, or hopefully I can bring some people down to a workshop. But if any of you guys have any questions or comments, if you want somebody to look over your DMAIC, we taught 150 people at the last company, and that was the model we used there, was DMAIC. If you're just looking for a connection, I posted my email and my LinkedIn in the chat, but also, I'm sure you can get it from Eric. I'm more than happy to talk to any of you guys. Always got to support your fellow Mustangs. So.
All right, good deal. All right, thanks, Jess. We're going to give you a hand. And before you go, let's switch over to the gallery view. Let's have everybody turn on your videos. Let's kind of give a nice, Cal Poly. Thanks for being here. Wave to our celebrity. Jester, we got everybody just so to prove to you that they're actually on the Zoom.
Yeah, you guys are real.
They're all real people right there. Okay, Chester, thanks a lot. Take it easy.